Hello there. It's a 3-pie walk today. That's not an indication of the length of the walk, it's more the length of the day and the amount of travelling involved. I'll have this pie now. I'll have, I think the other 2 pies I've got are actually quiches, but they look like pies. That'll do for me. I'll have one for lunch and I'll have maybe have another one in the ferry back. And my God, this is a seriously good, this is, what do you call this? Oh wow. Wooley's the bakers, highly recommended. Cottage pie, I think, that's it. My God, this mince is absolutely delicious. The pastries, the pie casing is very thin and crisp, absolutely beautiful. Award-winning bakery, worth a trip to Arran just for that. That's where I am. I'm on Isle of Arran at Brodick. I've made it. You may remember I talked a few videos ago about the difficulties in getting here in one day, and I thought I might have to stay overnight. But in fact, the ferries run from both Ardrossan and Troon to Brodick, and I've managed to kind of get an early ferry from Troon, and I'll head back later on today to Ardrossan and get a train from there. There's quite a lot of travelling involved. You know, sometimes travelling's kind of fraught with stress, really. You know, you wonder if you're going to make it. There's so many issues and things that can go wrong. I got a replacement bus, but from Glasgow, sorry, yeah, I got a train from Glasgow to Irvine, then a replacement bus to Troon, but if I'd got a later train, it wouldn't need the replacement bus. And just the way things worked out, as I say, you wonder whether you're going to get where you want to go. But it's all kind of worked out in the end, and an awful lot of kind of people who are really passionate about what they do, and they make travelling, they make it work. Even if sometimes those in charge don't put enough thought into schedules and timing and stuff like that. But there's guys driving buses who care, and they go out of their way to get you where you want to go. So thanks, guys. I'm just doing a 9-mile walk from Brodick through Glen Rosa up onto a kind of high point called the Saddle. It's only about 430 metres or something. Then I'll be dropped down Glen Sannox into Sannox, where I'll spend some time there and waiting for the bus back to Brodick. You can probably see where we're going. There's a kind of in-shoot. In-shoot's not the word, but there's a bit, just you can see there's a kind of valley there between the hills, and we're going up there then behind the main mountain in Arran. So we're kind of heading between 2 mountain ranges, and while I've never done this walk before, I'm just hoping, and I very much think that will be the case, that we'll get some cracking views of the mountain ranges on either side of it. We have got an absolutely glorious day, and I can't think of a better way to begin that day than an absolutely cracking cottage pie out of Wooley's. Highly recommended. So I'll see you at some point shortly on the track. Jackets off! Lovely day. And as you can see, I've left the road, we've got the turn off for Glen Rosa, well signposted. It's a bit of an unpleasant walk there because just around about the museum, the pavement stopped and you're left on a busy road with big vehicles, some of whom are pretty considerate. They stop because they see that there's nowhere for you to go. They slow down, stop. In fact, I waved to a guy, thank you. And the other vehicles, they just don't give a monkeys. They expect you to just take a sideways dive into the hedgerow. I think probably one of the main things about today's video, apart from the fact that this whole island is utterly beautiful, and I just hope that I can capture it in some small way, is that I'm using a new microphone. I tried it out in a video to do with Washington Street in Glasgow, which you'll see in due course, and there was a lot of issues there. It was just... the volume was going all over the place, and I was getting a lot of background clicks and pops. I had a setting on the Sony sort of recorder at high right enough. I put it down to low, which is what it used to be. But even in the kind of introductory bit of chat in Brodick there, I kind of had a listen to it afterwards, and I could hear clicks and pops, and I have vague recollections of getting that before with another microphone, where I think it's mobile phone or mobile phone mast interference. I've switched my own phone off now in case that might have had something to do with things, but if this, I'm going to use it throughout this video, but if it turns out that I'm getting a lot of clicks and pops and things aren't sounding that great, then I'm going to have to just go back to the old cheap microphone, which maybe didn't sound as good, but it did the job and didn't pick up pops and clicks and all sorts of transmittery noise. So fingers crossed, you know, we'll see how we go. You know, all my life I've walked, and I don't mean just a walk down to the corner shop. I mean I walk in amongst the countryside and amongst all the green stuff. I remember as a child walking from Partick to Mulgai with my sister, and then later when we were still kids, walking towards the Ochil Hills from Alloa. Never quite reaching them, but it was winter and they were pink. We'd never seen anything like it. We just wanted to get there. And also at primary school, walking with one of the other guys in the direction of Strathblane from Glasgow. But the rain came on really heavily, and some workmen who had one of these kind of curving, corrugated kind of hut things, shelters, gave us shelter from the rain, and also a tin of tea. You know, a metal tin with a little tin handle of tea with a tea bag floating in it. Some things you just remember fondly and never forget. This is why I walk. Look at that. Glen Rosa is round to the right in front of that jaggy stuff you can see there. We're not going up onto the jaggy stuff, we'll kind of hopefully bypass it. And this is why I'm here. Well, there was a cuckoo and an eagle, and ladies and gentlemen, I give you Glen Rosa, and this is blowing me away. I can't stop smiling. Well, there's a lot of quite strange rocks here on the Isle of Arran. I'm sure geologists already know that, and I'm sure when they get here they must have an absolute field day. It's a very special island, and I think from here we can kind of see where we're going to be going. It starts to head uphill just over there, and I think from what we can see from here is as high as it's going to go. I don't think it goes any higher than that, and I think we will start to drop down once we reach what seems to be called the saddle on the map. And from there, you know, you could have gone up to Goatfell, there's a footpath, but we're just, as I say, going down into Glen Sannox. We're making good time, there's no rush, we can dilly-dally. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's dilly-dallying. Brodick. I think Brodick has its fair share of lithe old folks with tans and shots and sinews. I could quite happily live there, you know. I think living in some place like that where everywhere you look it's stunningly beautiful, it must make life far more agreeable than staring glumly at the tenements of Brodick. Life must be far sweeter in places like Brodick and on the Isle of Arran. I'm very envious of those who live here. I was going to talk at length about shopping, but I think I'll just cut it short. I find shopping in supermarkets to be just totally disagreeable. Everything about it is designed to make you feel stressed and unwelcome. From the security guards at the door who eye you suspiciously and sometimes follow your every move. I must look like a really iffy character, you know. To just everything about it. There seems to be an awful lot more shelf stackers these days. They used to stack shelves mainly at night. That's possibly still the case, but there's more of them during the day, to the extent that at times you as a customer feel as if you're in the way. Then you've got the self-service checkout. Sometimes there's no man checkouts. You're forced to use a self-service checkout. I bought 5 grapefruits the other day, you know, so I took one grapefruit out and the machine said, how many grapefruits? I said 5. So I started putting them from But he didn't like that, you know. He wanted me to put them, taking 5 out of the worry and put all 5 in the worry. So the red light goes off. All it's missing is some kind of loud siren. Unpaid for goods in the bagging area. Unpaid for goods in the bagging area. There's nothing welcoming about that at all. I was in Morrison's, no, Waitrose in fact, a while back, and I don't know exactly what happened, but part of my jacket, either a toggle or a bit of the zip or something, somehow attached itself to the basket I was carrying in a kind of serious attachment. I thought, I'm joined with the basket here, so I spent quite a bit of time trying to free myself. And obviously, as I say, you're getting watched all the time. This is what makes the whole thing disagreeable. As soon as you enter a supermarket, you're looked on as being somebody who's suspicious. Everybody, you know. I hate that. I don't like being watched or regarded as a suspicious character when all I'm doing is trying to shop. So after me spending quite a bit of time trying to free myself from my basket, I just happened to turn round and a woman was gradually coming my direction, and I'm 100% certain she was security. She must have seen me in the overhead cameras and thought, what's that guy doing there? That's very suspicious. I really can't be doing with it. I would much rather use small shops. These small shops who don't have everything in plastic, you know, refillable containers, etc., paper bags. The prices, unfortunately, are a little bit dearer, and money's tight these days. Supermarkets can afford to have their prices cheaper because there's such huge concerns. It's a smaller profit margin. They make billions of pounds, you know. And I went shopping for a new pair of slippers the other day, and it was one of these simple things that turned into a great adventure, where every shop I was going into, and I was having to kind of describe the shape of my slippers and things. You know, old man's tartan type slippers. They're getting blank looks. Nobody had them. But the place was full of what are called Uggs. I've never heard of the word Ugg before. It sounds like something Fred Flintstone would name one of his children, an Ugg. But thankfully, eventually I got slippers. TD Hughes in the St Enoch Centre has a good range of old man's slippers. A tenner. But of course, when I got them home, I suddenly realised that to put them on, I couldn't just slide my feet into them. I had to actually lift my foot up and somehow get my foot into the slipper. And it was just at that moment that I realised that I should actually have bought a pair of Uggs. Just stopping for an emergency pie. Distance has got a way of playing tricks with you. It's much longer coming up there than I initially thought. It feels and it felt like a lot higher than 432 metres or whatever, unless I've made a mistake. I mean, that video about the Black Glen, and I said that it was about 600 metres. Possible I just made an error somewhere, but that Black Glen video, the track all the way was just a wide track. You could have taken a vehicle. This, on the other hand, it's just a narrow path. At every single step you're going up or down on little boulders, And after a while that becomes mentally and physically exhausting. I am pretty spent, but now rewarded with stunning views. And I'm beginning to wonder about the way down. I'm thinking, do I have to put my tripod in the rucksack? We'll see. I'm still not sure where the saddle is. Maybe I'm sitting on it for all I know, God knows. Anyway, I'll pick you up somewhere on the way down. Well, I have magically transported myself from the saddle to a hotel bar in Brodick. I think I've seen quite enough of the countryside for one day. Thank you. Can't believe how expensive that bottle of Arran Blonde was. I think it was £6.54 or something. It's brewed just along the road, you know. I saw a snake on the way back. I haven't seen many snakes in my life. I saw one swimming in Oxford many years ago, but I don't really think I've seen any in grass close by. And everybody says, well, did it have the zigzag pattern? Was it a grass snake or an adder? Or I haven't got a clue. It's rather a lovely looking snake, to be honest. It wasn't too big, it wasn't too wee, it wasn't a slow worm or anything, it was definitely a snake. But it just kind of slithered through the grass, as they do. As you may have seen at the beginning of this video, my intention was to walk from Brodick to Sannox via Glen Rosa over the saddle and then down into Glen Sannox. But by the time I got to the saddle, I was wrecked. It was a little bit more than I had anticipated. But it wasn't really just that. When I looked at the path on the way down, for me it just looked too steep. I thought, there's no way I'm going down there. Sort of waves of self-preservation and fear were welling up in me. I mean, I could see steps on the path down now and then, but my God, I looked at it a couple of times. I put my camera in the tripod in the rucksack so I had both hands free. I went down a few steps, I looked at it and I thought, no, I'm not going down there. It was just very steep. I mean, it was frighteningly steep. I don't know whether most people who do that walk maybe go up that way and end at Brodick or from going down there was just a no-no, you know. I thought even if I try, I go down a few steps and I could see bits that there wasn't steps and there was a little bit of scrambly stuff going on. I thought I could go down so far and find that I'm no longer happy to go down any further, and I'll then have some difficulty trying to get back up again. And I thought, no. And it was, for me, the sensible decision. Many folk are probably laughing at that, you know, big fearty. But for me, it was just, it was right, you know, I couldn't handle it, you know. One of these things. So the only option open to me was to walk back to Brodick. You know, today's walk was going to be 9 miles. At the saddle, there's about 6 miles gone. So that in walking back, that's 12 miles, which I thought, that's okay, it's not out with the bounds of what I've been doing lately. And I'll get back in time for the ferry that I was originally going to get. And I've got time for a few extortionately priced beers. So there we go. Sorry to disappoint anybody who was looking forward to the end of the video. Sometimes that's just the way it goes. You've got to look after yourself sometimes and put pride and ambition to one side. I'm Eddie Burns. Take care. I'll see you again.